teams, Team Central Jersey, Team North Jersey, just relaxed teams. And we're all here together today to discuss goal setting. We've got some very awesome panelists today to address goal setting. Obviously, January is a time where a lot of people like to, and hopefully you've already set your goals, but we'll hear from experts who are masters at doing this. So with that, I will stop talking and transition and let everyone introduce themselves. I'm going to start by going left to right on my screen. So we'll start with Chris. Chris, you want to introduce yourself, who you are, and why you're here?
Sure. Hi, everybody. My name is Chris Lipper, and I founded On the Bus Sales Training Coaching Consulting on New Year's Eve 2010. So that puts us in our 12th year of coaching business owners, and that's what we do best. And the way we do it is by community, and we create what we call buses, and they're virtual buses now, where we put up to 8 owners on a bus once a month for a 4-hour meeting where they share challenges and opportunities and get feedback and hold each other accountable to making a change by the next month's meeting. And the results of these meetings are phenomenal. 46 of our owners in the last 6-7 years came to us with the intent of wanting to sell their business, and they have done that. So things really happen at our meetings. We get to do some unique stuff because we don't just talk about stuff, we do stuff. And we have our own sales trainings that are available for the community and for others that meet on the 2nd and 4th Tuesday of the month from 10 to 12. Our next class is on giving your 2-minute intro. So we've gotten pretty good at this. And we have our own networking group, Bang, on Thursday mornings at 9 a.m., which was today, 9 to 10. And we have quarterly virtual trade shows. We used to have live trade shows, and we were doing those twice a year. The pandemic hit, and we had to figure something out. And we went virtual, and they're even better. They're phenomenal. Anyone who's been will attest to it that they're really great, and they feel live. And I don't have to worry about parking, weather, fire marshals, any of that stuff. It's just a much better platform from my side and apparently from your guys' side. And we had 6 of those last year. We're going to do 4 this year. We're doing them on the first Friday of March, June, September, and December. And I'll put my information in the chat. Chris Lipper, On the Bus Sales Training Coaching Consulting. Don't get left behind. Get on the bus.
Excellent. And next up, we have Danelle.
Hi, I'm Danelle Bingle from Upbeat Dance and Fitness. I really do 2 things. One is I teach exercise science at a college. And what I've realized over the years is I can tell my students that they need to eat their vegetables and they need to exercise. They knew that before they even walked into the classroom, right? So what I've really started to work more on is, okay, how do we take these things that we all know and put them into practice and then maintain them over time? The other thing that I do is I am a personal trainer group exercise instructor. So as many of you could imagine, it's January 1st. Everybody comes in and they want help to lose weight because that is the New Year's resolution. It's either I want to lose weight, I want to quit smoking. Like those are the big ones that I hear. So once again, how do I help people to take what they know and then transition that into habits that help them and that they can maintain? And the secret sauce for that is similar to what Chris said, is the community around them, because you can know things. And a lot of us start off really strong. It's like, okay, I'm going to do this, or I'm not going to eat any sugar, or I'm not going to smoke. And then after a week or 2, it's like, oh, this is hard. So having that community around you to help support you and help you to live in line with the goals that you've chosen is really valuable. So that is where I'm coming from. Danelle Bingle, Upbeat Dance and Fitness.
Excellent. Next up on my screen, we have Karen.
Hello, everyone. Happy New Year. My name is Karen Sammer, and my business is called Your Power, Your Health, Nutrition, and Health Coaching. And I primarily work with women, although I do very successfully with men as well, who are living with or are at risk for developing chronic illness like heart disease or diabetes, obesity, even cancer, anything that we can manage through lifestyle and nutrition. And I do that using a 5-pronged program that I've developed. It includes working with your mindset, obviously your nutrition, your lifestyle, your emotional health, and self-care. Because especially as women, we are not very good at self-care because we're so busy taking care of other people. And typically we put ourselves at the bottom of the list. but it's really important to put yourself at the top of the list because you can't pour from an empty cup. So I work with people to reprioritize what's important in their lives and to actually help them to develop the mindset to know that they are capable of doing anything that they put their mind to. They just have to have faith in themselves. So it's really important. All of these components are really important for sustainable weight loss and success, and bringing down, if you've been diagnosed with maybe climbing cholesterol numbers or climbing blood pressure or unstable blood sugar, this is a program for you because I can help you get those numbers in line so that you no longer have to worry about having to take medication if you haven't started already, or maybe even reducing the medication with your doctor's permission. Once you've established these different changes in your life and you start to see improvement, you may actually be able to reduce or even completely stop taking the medication. So again, my name is Karen Sammer and my business is Your Power, Your Health, Nutrition and Health Coaching. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. And finally, we have Bertha.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much, Dennis, for the invitation back. I'm really honored to be alongside this wonderful panel and hearing all that you have to present. I am the founder of Star One Professional Services. It is a global coaching and consulting firm where we help business owners close the gap between goal setting and goal achievement. We really primarily look at working with visionary business leaders who will take an approach, as Karen mentioned, the key word in terms of prioritization and turning into habits. My passion has been doing that for the last 6 years, working with leaders. And prior to that, in corporate America, I was also working with leaders across the US in terms of making sure that we are able to meet and exceed goals. So I'm really looking forward to the conversation today. We too have a 5-point approach at our firm, and we look at businesses who need to shore up their structure, their strategy, their process and procedures. We want to make sure that teams are being recognized. It's all about people, no matter how much we invest in technology and talk about the future of technology and robotics. It's always going to be about the human being and the human relationship. So we look at assessments as well to see which ways we're communicating with one another, making sure that we are on the same page, that we recognize and honor our destined or our desired approach for communication. We look at our 12-point approach in terms of our motivators. We also look at acumen, and we love to also understand EQ and knowing that emotional intelligence is something that we can continue to improve. When we have that unique ability to connect with our teams, we then have an outstanding opportunity to then have outside customer loyalty. So internal customer loyalty for outside customer loyalty. So Star One Professional Services, a global business coaching and consulting firm. And if I can add also my second hat, for the last few months, since July of last year, I'm the president of the New Jersey Association of Women Business Owners. I love working primarily with women business owners who are looking at opportunities that are ahead of them through certifications. So I help business owners in that way here in our organization. And we believe that every woman business owner should be a member. But even if you're not a member, we're here to support all women business owners in the state of New Jersey. So once again, I'm really looking forward to the conversation.
Excellent. And then we're going to come right back to you, Bertha. And ironically, it was a conversation that we had about women business in October that you mentioned goal setting. And I don't remember exactly how you described it, but I remembered it was very unique. So could you get in and describe a little bit about your approach to goals?
Sure, absolutely. So as I mentioned in my intro, I always talk about closing the gap between goal setting and goal achievement. And a little bit of our behind the scenes chatter, we were talking about, making sure that those habits stick, because we all want to do things, but do we actually do the work? So part of my process with clients and friends is making sure that we follow a goal planning sheet. And it's really part of the process. Everyone's familiar with SMART goals, right? Specific, measurable, attainable, realistically high, and time bound. What I add to that criteria is why, WHY. Making sure that our goals are written is critical. We can't just say that they're in our head. right? It have to be something that we write. Having that connection between our brain to paper is really critical and important in the process of attainment and achievement. The second thing is that they are in alignment, or that they're harmonious. That's what the H represents. They have to be in alignment with the other things that are in our life, whether it be our personal and our business. We're holistic beings. So we can't say, you know, these are my goals in business, and that they're contradictory to what we want to accomplish in our personal life. They have to be in alignment. They have to be harmonious. And the third one, the letter Y, represents yours. They have to be your goals. You have to be passionate about it. They have to have some type of story that's going to pull you and push you to attaining it. The actual process of achievement in the goal planning process is that you identify that one goal, and the goal has to be structured properly. So the criterion is to help you make sure that it is a goal. The first step is a brain dump. Write down everything that you want to accomplish, your dreams, your ideas, and then you structure it with the Y SMART criterion. Once you have that, you take that one goal and you give it, of course, the time-bound piece, right? You have to make sure that you have a deadline. An affirmation for it. Your affirmation should be written in first person. They should be positive. And it's something that's going to fuel you, whether it's daily, depending on when your goal is due, whether it's every time you're about to achieve it, maybe you're going to work on it. You're going to look at that affirmation to fuel you. The other piece of it is looking at the rewards and consequences. What are the rewards for attaining this goal? You know, if I achieve losing these 10 pounds in X time frame, what does that give me? Am I going to feel better? Am I going to be able to, you know, have more energy to play with my children? Am I going to be able to, you know, maybe it's fitting in those clothes that you've been wanting to fit in? Whatever the goal is for you, what is the reward that's gonna fuel you? And then the other side is the consequences. Unfortunately, most people are actually fueled more by avoiding the consequence as opposed to achieving the reward. So what are the consequences of not reaching the goal? So you write out your goal, you have the time date, the timestamp when you want to achieve it by, you have your reward, your consequence, and then you want to write out what are your obstacles to achieving the goal. You know, and we talked about it briefly in the intro. Sometimes it's, you know, losing that fuel. You know, I think it was you who mentioned it, Danelle. Did I say your name right, Danelle? Is it that we lose that impetus, that fuel, the want to do it? You know, yeah, I'm getting up on January 1st. Everyone has the resolution. But then a week later, and sometimes even sooner, we lose the fuel, the energy, you know, to make it happen. So you want to write out all your obstacles and then write out the solution to the obstacle. Because when the obstacle presents itself, you will already have your plan B. And then in that line item for your obstacle and its solution, then you also want to see, is there someone that I need to delegate to? Do I need some help in making this step happen? Do I need to learn something? Is there something that I'm missing? So that you can have a really strong plan B for when that obstacle presents itself. And then following through. That's why making sure in the Y criterion that it's your goal, that it's harmonious, that it has a story behind it, and then you'll fuel you to make it happen. You got to be consistent, looking at it, writing it down, and you'll be able to achieve your goals.
Excellent, excellent. Yeah, it was that why piece that I had never heard before. That's very unique. Going forward, Danelle, we'll have you come back to your insights on this topic.
Great. It's really interesting because I had not thought that a business consultant would have so much in common with what I wanted to say from a wellness and fitness perspective. So we also work with SMART goals a lot. And obviously, just having this thought in your head, whatever it might be, I want to lose weight is just the most common one. You can just have that thought floating around in your head for years and years and years, but actually taking the time to write it down, as Bertha said, is really key. And then in addition to that, you're going to need to make it specific and measurable and time bound. You're going to need to write that down. Hang it on whatever, hang it on the bulletin board by your desk, wherever it needs to be. Then in addition, you want to try to identify the behaviors that are going to get you there, right? Because how easy would it be to say, I'm going to lose 10 pounds by April 1st? Okay, well, that's a SMART goal. That's very specific, measurable, timely, all of those things, right? Okay, but let's take a second and set some behavioral goals like, I will eat 3 servings of vegetables every day. Right? And that's a positive goal. I'm not taking anything away from myself by doing that. I'm adding things. I will make sure that I drink X amount of water every day and then stick with that. Hopefully you'll have the accountability in a group like mine or a group like Chris's, or, you know, Karen and Bertha, I'm sure also have some accountability groups going on. I love the idea of also predicting obstacles, because guess what? Success has never in the history of time gone straight up like this. It doesn't happen. We're human beings. This is the real world. So it's not going to do that. You're not just going to continually get better and better. So let's predict some of those obstacles so we don't get discouraged. I mean, my favorite story, so I try to stay away from sugar, at least added sugar, most of the time, except for Christmas, because Christmas cookies are like the best. But if I'm going to a party, I know that my favorite thing, it's a little embarrassing to share this, but I'll do it anyway, is like ShopRite, like sheet cake. Like, I don't like fancy cake. I don't like it filled with anything. Nothing fancy. I just want like vanilla sheet cake. I love it. It's my favorite thing. So if I know I'm going to a party where that's likely to be there, I'm going to talk to myself. I'm going to say, self, this is going to come up for you today. How would you like to handle it? Then I have the opportunity to choose. I can say, well, I've been, you know, my nutrition's been pretty good. I'm feeling good. My brain feels like it's functioning well. My body's functioning well. I can handle having a piece of that cake. I'm going to sit down and I'm going to enjoy the heck out of it. And that is one option that I can choose. Another option I can choose is say, well, it's right after Christmas and I really need to stay away from that sugar right now because I just really need to stay 100% clean right now for myself so that I can feel good. And then I can turn maybe to my husband or my daughters. They're teenagers now, so they love telling me what to do. And I can say, hey guys, this is going to be something that I'm challenged with, and I'm not going to eat any cake today. So, maybe you can help me stick to that decision, because that's what I'm choosing. I'm choosing it now. Once I get there, I don't have anything to think about. I already made the decision. I told other people about it. So I created that community for myself. And I just feel like that's really powerful for me. It's powerful for my students too, because I think all of us, when we're 18 and 19, you just sort of live life when you're that age, right? You don't really think ahead or try to predict anything. So when I mention that to my students, a lot of times they're like, I never thought of it that way. You're gonna have obstacles. It will happen. So how are we going to deal with them when they come up? Let's see if we can predict, right? Another thing to consider, and then I'll be quiet so the next person can talk, is how dedicated are you to this goal right now? And be honest with yourself. Be honest, right? So maybe some of my business goals, as Chris would know, I have to be honest, I am not 100% dedicated to them right at this minute, because I also teach college. I have teenagers. I have a kitchen that is under construction. I'm honestly saying to myself and my boss that I am not 100% dedicated. I honestly can be this much dedicated. And then I have to expect the results that come with that. I have to expect that those results will be different than if I were 100%. And I can avoid feeling shame then, right? Because shame does not help. I think at least, well, I'm sure you guys all agree with me, right? Nod your head, say yes, Danelle, we agree. I do a lot of assessments with people. We do body composition. We do the number of push-ups you can do, right? Some of us will be doing that later tonight. Does shame fuel you to do better? Some people, maybe in the short term it works, but mostly no. What we need to talk about is the awareness of what our bodies can do now and where we would like to go. Because me shaming you, you shaming yourself is not really a healthy way to go about reaching your goals. Would you agree?
Definitely.
Good. Nod your head like this. Say yes to now. No one agrees with me at home. I need you guys to actually agree with me. All right.
Excellent.
Thank you. I look forward to the discussion.
Yeah, awesome. So you brought up Chris, and I know Chris has a very unique approach with his bus that has been very successful. Chris, you want to talk a little bit more about how you address this area?
Sure. Thank you. And it's been fascinating to hear everyone, and we're all very similar, and we all do things the same but different and that kind of thing. And we have our book. It's the on the Bus Sales Training Workbook. And twice a year, we review Chapter 11 on page 117. And we do this in December and June. So for me and our groups, we like to plan for next year in December, so we don't lose January. Some groups like to do it the middle of January. Well, then we've lost January, you know? So if we're gonna plan for next year, let's do it the month before. So that's how we do it. And it starts with a vision. So whenever I sit down with a new client, we have a little meditation together and we go out to their exit. So depending on their age, it could be 5 years, it could be 20 years. But we want to know where they want to exit and what they want the business to look like then, so we can work backwards. But if we're going to look at the next year, let's say, for example, like many have said, we need a SMART goal, right? And it's interesting how we're all changing the acronym a little bit. So for me, it's strategic, measurable, attainable, realistic, and trackable. And the trackable part's important. And what I do with our members is we have a bus pass every month. So prior to coming to our monthly meeting, I'll sit down with them one-to-one and we'll go over their bus pass. And what we're looking at there are behavioral goals. So I'm not a big believer in KPIs. I think KPIs is an accounting term for what just happened. And it's a reporting system. It's a report card of sorts. But their behavioral goals are something different. That's something in our control, in our power, something we can do, right? It's an action that we can make time for or not, depending on our motivation. But we need to look at the spread, or I think Bertha referred to it as the gap. So let's say you did $750,000 last year in revenue, and you want to be at $1 million next year. The gap, or the spread, is $250,000. If you're in a business where your business repeats, if you're starting every year at $0, that's a different way of doing this. But let's look at that scenario where we've got a $250,000 spread. So the first thing we want to know is, what's your average ticket? How much is your average ticket? Let's use round numbers and say it's $10,000. So if we want $250,000 and we've got $10,000, that tells us we need 25 orders, right? So then we got to look at your kill ratio. So when you meet with a client, how often do you close them? Is it 50% of the time? Is it 1 out of 10? What is that number? So then we know how many quotes we need in the 12 months or per month. We can break it down to monthly. So if I've kind of lost my train of thought here, but if we wanted 10 new clients and we have a 50% kill ratio, we need 20 quotes, right? So what do we need to do to get 20 quotes? And that's the fun part. Is it networking? And do you have a networking goal? Who here has a networking goal? I know I do. This is networking. I know Danelle does because I coach her. So my networking goal whenever I go to an event is to schedule 2 one-to-ones. And my goal with those one-to-ones is to ask for a referral, is to paint a picture in a well enough way where somebody knows what I do, where I can say, do you know anyone who could benefit from this? And if I can do those things, I'll probably hit my number next year. And my number, I'd like 13 new clients this year. That's it. No more, hopefully no less, but that's my goal. And I've structured this for me and for my clients. But the key thing to the whole thing is the accountability. That I need to go through this once a month, have somebody hold me accountable, nudge me a little bit if I'm not doing enough, talk to me if I'm doing too much of one, and it works best by community. And that's why we do it at our bus meetings. And they share their numbers, and we can see when somebody says, yeah, my things are a little off. We don't have the opportunities we used to have. We can go back and look at 3 months ago, they weren't networking. And that's why. So anyway, it's the behaviors, it's in our control. And that's the important part for me. So I don't want to take too much time, but thank you.
No, that's great, Chris. And that's what I love. I love you have the soft side, but you have the hard numbers. As the accountant, I love the hard numbers.
Yep.
And then finally, we'll come back to this section to kind of talk a little bit more about the topic, how you address the topic. Karen.
So a lot of what I do has already been talked about. I mean, Danelle and I are aligned in the health world in that we are, our goal is to make people healthier. But one of the things that typically my clients come to me when they have gotten some news from the doctor or they want to prevent getting news from the doctor that maybe isn't so good for them. So what I do is I try to find from them what would be the consequence of you not taking action at this point. If you keep doing what you're doing, where are you going to be in 3 months and 6 months and a year? What is that going to look like for you? And so when they know that they're headed down a path of, maybe self-destruction at some point, but they're headed down a path that isn't going to go so well for them, it gives them an idea of what they want to avoid. And so, as I think Bert has said before, people prefer to avoid pain versus, they're more motivated by avoiding pain than they are about getting a reward for something. So we want to focus on what is going to make them take action. And one of the things that was very beneficial to me, 10 years ago, lost 135 pounds. And the way I did that initially was that I gave up processed sugar, which is a complete game changer. I mean, to me, that sets the stage for success in any area of weight loss, in getting your health in order, because sugar causes inflammation in your body, and it ends up being the basis of many diseases, including cancer, including heart disease, and many other things. So when you can cool that inflammation in your body, you have already set the stage for a very positive outcome. And not only that, you gain control of what you eat a lot more easily than if you were to modify or to moderate or to just sort of limit your sugar. Because when you limit, you're still, it's almost like telling a heroin addict to only use a little bit of heroin. It doesn't work that way. You have to eliminate it from your diet. If you really want to be successful, you have to take it out, because the food is the food is manufactured to make you keep coming back for more, because otherwise those companies wouldn't stay in business. So that substance in there is very addictive. It's actually more addictive than cocaine and heroin. So understand that the chemistry of the food is not compatible with a healthy body a lot of times. So you want to make sure that you're making the right choices. But once you start doing that, and it sets the stage for a much higher level of success, and much more likelihood of sustainability. And so that's the approach that I take. But when I do it with my clients, we take it a little bit at a time, because small incremental changes are often more sustainable than trying to, quote, eat the elephant. How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. You can't eat the whole elephant at one time. So you can't make wholesale changes in your entire life, because what happens is it becomes too overwhelming and your brain shuts down. Your brain stops you because it wants to keep you safe, and all of that change is perceived as unsafe. So you want to make sure that you take these small steps towards the goals that you want, so that when you look back in 3 months and 6 months, you can see how far you came, but it didn't feel like it when you were going through it. So it's making it manageable for the person, so that they don't see that, if somebody comes to me and they have to lose 100 pounds and they say, oh my God, I have to lose 100 pounds. I'm never going to be able to do that. That's their brain telling them that this isn't safe. This change is too drastic. We can't do this. So what we do is we make small bite-sized goals, and we make it so that it is attainable. And the approach that I take, I have a 6-month individual program. We set 3 goals a week. So we meet once a week. We set 3 goals that we mutually agree on, and then the following week I hold them accountable for those goals. And if they don't attain them, then we figure out why, and maybe we have to switch them a little bit, or maybe we have to go a completely different direction. But it's really about the person's success and what is going to work for them. And so, like I said, taking sugar out of the diet, I am nutritionally focused, but not completely, because there's so many other things that are about this. It's usually not about the food. It's usually about what's causing you to eat the food. It's the emotion, and it's your lifestyle. It's the stress. The stress is another issue. But one of the things that I just lost my train of thought.
As far as I know the sugar taking you out of the diet, you've had a huge impact on your life, correct?
Absolutely. Yeah. So I'm a cancer survivor. And when I was diagnosed with cancer, it was an aggressive form of breast cancer. And I went through a pretty miserable time being treated for that. And that's when I decided I had to do something to take hold of my health. And when I did that, I did some research. And one of the things that I found is that processed sugar is cancer's best friend. And so when you take that out of your diet, you actually help to minimize your risk of recurrence, because I had a high risk of recurrence because of this type of cancer. So I immediately took that on, and that's what actually made the weight come off almost effortlessly. I can't say completely effortlessly. There was a lot going on there, but it was such a game changer for me. But also one of the things, that's another thing. One of the things that I like to do is I like to take the emotion out of the number on the scale. The number on the scale is just your relationship to gravity. That's all it is. And when people are emotionally connected to that number, and they determine how they're going to feel about themselves based on this number, based on their relationship to gravity, I really try to pull out the emotion from that. And I find that that's very helpful, because it just becomes a number then. It's just a number. You like it to go down because that number going down is going to mean you're getting healthier. But it isn't something that is going to make you a good person or a bad person. It's not going to make you successful or unsuccessful in your life. It is strictly your relationship to gravity. So everybody should remember that, by the way, that number on the scale is nothing other than your, how much that gravitational pull is working on your body. Unfortunately, that gravitational pull also works on your joints and your muscles and all the other stuff. So you do want that number to be lower, so that gravitational pull isn't quite so onerous on your body. But anyway, so those are the approaches that I take, and I'm very successful with my clients. I had a client whose numbers were completely out of control on medication, and within 3 months went back to the doctor and found out his numbers were in better shape than they ever were. So that it really does work. And it's really, those are the gratifying stories for me. The ones where somebody gets really good news from a doctor after having multiple visits with bad news. And that makes it worth it. And it makes this the thing I was meant to do.
Excellent. So Danelle, we'll come back to you now to start on the next round, just kind of talking a little bit more on the follow-up on either things you didn't be able to address or some interesting things that you heard from others.
Well, I will piggyback on what Karen said about the scale, because I think in our culture, boy, it's hard to find someone who doesn't have an emotional relationship with the scale, including me, because listen, this is a journey, right? I mean, this is a journey. This is not something that we finish. Like behavior change, it's not something that you can just check off and say, okay, I'm done now, right? It's something that we're constantly working on over time. So whether it's relationship with the scale, I mean, my personal coaching tends to focus on what can you do? Like, wow, when we started, you could do 2 push-ups and now you can do 10. That is amazing, right? Or look how much stronger you are now. You can do X, Y, Z, and trying to take the focus off of the scale whenever possible, because I mean, it's a number. I mean, we can't completely ignore our relationship to gravity, right, Karen? But like, our body composition is more interesting, as Paul was talking about in the chat, right? Gaining muscle and losing fat is amazing. I don't care if the scale doesn't change. If your body composition changes, that's huge. That's huge, especially as we age. None of us are 20 here, right? Because after the age of 25, we lose a half a pound of lean body mass every year. That's scary when you think about by the time you get to be 70 and 75 and 80, right? So the behaviors that will keep that from happening, like strength training, like cardio, like eating less processed food in general, particularly sugar, are going to help you to feel better about yourself, to be more energetic, to have your clothes fit better, to avoid diseases like cardiovascular disease and cancer, and just, it's all around going to help. It's just going to help your life feel better to you. I also wanted to circle back to something Bertha said, right, about really focusing on what will this change do for you, right? What's it going to feel like? Like, we set this goal, whether it's, I've talked about losing weight a lot, but that's just the most common thing people ask me for. So what is this going to allow you to do? How will you feel? What type of clothes would you like to wear? What type of activities would you like to do with your family? And then, write that down, put it somewhere where you see it multiple times a day. Take a second, close your eyes, visualize what that is going to look like and feel like, because that reward is better. It's so much better than the piece of cake from ShopRite or the whatever people crave. I mean, that's my craving. I've shared too much, but you just keep your eyes focused on that, and it makes the other things just a little easier.
Excellent. Excellent. So Bertha, we'll come back to you as far as a follow-up to, either things that you had mentioned earlier or what others had said here today.
Sure. Again, this has been so great. I am taking notes. Like you just said, Danelle, this is something for all of us. We are on this journey. And one thing that's really big when we're thinking about goal settings, or if someone's looking at New Year's resolutions, I tend to shy away from resolutions. I like intentions. This is the intention that I've set, and it's not necessarily based on a time frame similar to what Chris said. They prepare for the new year the year before. Well, I look at my years in terms of 12 weeks. So whatever works for you, make it manageable. I love what Karen said, celebrating those little wins, because you're getting closer, so take it into those smaller bites, as she mentioned. Make your goals manageable. That's part of that criterion, the why SMART, making sure it's, manageable, making sure it's something that you can achieve. Sometimes I get asked, how many goals is too many? How many goals is too few? I want to say, for me personally, 3, depending on how big the goals are, right? Because your goals also they're intangible, and then they're tangible goals as well. So, and they're time bound. So you can have short-term goals, long-range goals. Karen talked about her process with her clients is weekly. So they're looking at those 3 goals over a time frame of a week. You may be looking at the first quarter, the first year, and 5 years. So it depends on you, but I like to look at 3 big goals, and then making sure that those goals have action steps, things that I'm doing every day that completely relate to my goals. My goals are also connected to my aspirational vision. So those 3 goals are linked to where I see myself in 5 and 10 years. And the activity that I'm doing every day, and when I'm actually planning in my calendar, when I have my time blocks, so I have those strategic blocks, they're directly linked to getting me their activity that's going to get me to those goals. So whether it's making sure that I'm refilling my cup with water, right? Or if I'm going out to take a walk, or making sure that I'm checking to see, like Chris mentioned in terms of my networking, have I hit my target? So you got to have some type of tracker where you're holding yourself accountable at the end of the day, checking to see, this is what I said I would do and I did it. Yay, success. I didn't. I got to add it to somewhere so that I can make it happen. And that's part of the heavy lifting, in making sure that we're doing the work that's going to get us to our goals. And you've got to have some type of tracker, some type of activity where you're checking and making sure that, let me go back and see my week. And how did I do this week with the things that I said I was going to do? So having an accountability partner or a circle or a group is great, but making sure that you realize that the power is really within your hands, and you and I hold ourselves accountable. And if you're really committed to it, it's something that you love and you want to do, and you envision yourself. Danelle mentioned visioning. That's really powerful too. Have affirmations that help you. You're going to make it happen. We all can. So just make it something that you love, write it down, have some activity behind it, and maybe a partner that can help you go along on the trip, on the journey with you.
Excellent. And then we'll come back to Karen.
So I love what Bertha said about all of this. It's really keeping yourself accountable. So, one of the things that keeps me where I am is the fact that I have to be an example to my clients. So for my own health goals, I make sure that I walk my talk. But as far as my business goes, I like what you were talking about as far as just keeping yourself accountable. I do have accountability partners. In fact, Paul is one of them. I have accountability partners that I meet with on a regular basis, and it really helps to keep me kind of focused. And not only do you have the accountability to the person with the other person, but you also can get some feedback when you're going when you're doing what you're doing, you get some feedback from them, and it may be an area that they have more experience than you do, and they can maybe help to redirect your focus, or redirect your, just give you some ideas on how to tighten up what your process is. So it's really, I like the idea of having an accountability partner. I like the idea of just, like I said, I need to be an example to my clients, as I'm sure you do too, Bertha. I mean, how would you be able to coach your clients if your business was all over the map? So the fact that we keep ourselves, I think we are our own best teachers, or our own best students, maybe, is that we are, when we're teaching someone else, we're also learning. And we're holding ourselves to a standard that maybe we wouldn't if we didn't have the responsibility to the people that we're trying to bring along. So I think that, we're a community. We are human beings, are pack animals. We all rely on each other. We're interrelated. We're all connected. We're one. If you there's all of the metaphysical, we are one energy and all that stuff. Yeah, that's true. I think, and I feel like we all came from stardust, and so we have a connection, and we should utilize that connection in a positive way. Instead of being mean to each other, we should kind of reunite, and we could support each other. And wow, what a world this would be if we all did instead of competed. I prefer to be collaborative. I hate to be competitive. When I was in the corporate world, I hated being competitive. I hated having to jockey for position in my peer group. I was never very good at it. When I had to tell them what my accomplishments were for the year, I wasn't really good at flowering them up like other people were. Some people were very poetic about their accomplishments. They would make something really minuscule look like they saved the world, but I was not able to do that. So I feel like if we are more collaborative than we are competitive, I think that we can just sort of raise the consciousness, and raise everything, raise us all up. And so, but to that end, holding each other accountable to stay connected, and to stay in that sort of high position, I think is really an important and very positive way to kind of look at how we conduct ourselves. And so that's, and I encourage that in my clients as well. Community is everything. Excellent. And nobody's an island. And somebody said, no man is an island. I agree with that. We all need to be here for each other.
Awesome. That's very true. Very true. And then finally, in this section, we're going to come back to Chris to let Chris talk about a follow-up to things that he discussed or what others had said.
Again, I've just enjoyed listening to everyone. And Karen, we obviously have a lot of similar music between us, because I can tell by your words what you listen to, and that's nice to hear. So for me, you've got the stick or the carrot as motivators, and the carrot needs to keep growing. I guess the stick could, but I'd rather look at the reward side, right? So I love working with startups and with newer companies, because the owners are more teachable and trainable, and you see the results right away because they implement right away. And that's really fun for them. It's fun for me. It's motivational. It's exciting, And then as they follow along and go with our process, what ends up happening with a lot of entrepreneurs is good is the enemy of great, right? They get happy being good. Their sights of being great aren't there as much, right? And I don't want to say they get flat, but they're happy being good. And then my job is to remind them of the carrot. Hey, we still want to do this, right? And then by the end, their goal is just not to blow it. And yeah, they pay me more then. They're still nice. It's just not as much fun or as exciting, if you know what I mean. But there's something to be said for being comfortable also. And that can be a goal for most. If we have time, just because you guys are all talking food, I have a great food story, if that's okay. Can I take a minute, Dennis?
Oh, please do.
All right. So 5 years ago, I went vegan. And it was for no reason other than I watched a movie called What the Health on Netflix, and I learned that our government has us eating badly to fuel the pharmaceutical industry. And I was on cholesterol meds. I was like, what? And I went vegan that day, and I've been vegan ever since, and I will always be vegan. And it's the top 3 decisions of my life. I moved in with my girlfriend about a year and a half ago, and she insisted I go get a physical, and I went to the doctor, and they they drew blood, and the doctor is like up in arms saying, your cholesterol is 258. You're going to have a stroke or a heart attack. You have to go on meds. I'm like, not going to do it. And he goes, no, you don't understand. You're going to have a stroke or a heart attack if you don't go on meds. I'm not going to do it. Find a different way. And I told him the whole vegan story. He goes, all right, I'll make a deal with you. You go get a CT scan of your heart. And if the numbers come back good, you don't have to go on meds. I said, fine. A couple Fridays later, in a meeting, my phone's blowing up. I see it's the doctor. I tell my girlfriend, look, call the doctor. I get ready to go to the hospital. He's called 6 times. And I got him, we talked, and he goes, I've never seen anything like this. Your CT scan came back a 0% blockage. And my body makes 258 whatever points of cholesterol. So I'm not a believer in meds. I'm well, for certain things, maybe mental things, whatever it might be, but for cholesterol, diet. The medicine is what we put in our bodies. So I just wanted to share that. You guys motivated me to share that.
Excellent. Great. Awesome story. So we're going to wrap up with, before we wrap up, we'll give everyone 2 minutes to say the one thing that they really want people to remember from this whole thing. And I'll start it off with what I want people to remember is, why Relax Teams does this, why Relax Teams exist, is to help people like this to get their message heard. We've heard similar things, but so distinctly different personalities, different approaches that are going to be the right fit for individuals. And none of us are big corporate companies. And it's hard for our little people's businesses to get heard. And that's what Teams is all about, is helping to get your message heard. In the end, your customers are going to decide. And as we can tell, it's going to be, hey, that's somebody I really want to work with. That's someone I can tell will help me be successful. And you can have 20, 100 people line up and they'll pick different people along the way. But that's our goal, is to make sure that that message gets heard and that people can make those decisions. So feel free, join Relax Teams, come out anytime, relaxteams.com, see it all. So with that said, we're going to go back and give everyone else a chance for their 2 minutes. If you take one thing from this, what would you want them to take it? And we'll go in the reverse order of the last one. So the final order. So Karen, you're up first.
Okay, well, so a couple things. Chris, by the way, that was probably your calcium score, and good for you. That's wonderful. But what I think that what I would like to have people take away is to remember that your weight is your relationship to gravity, nothing more. So try to keep the emotion out of it. That doesn't mean you shouldn't pay attention to it. Just keep the emotion out of it. But also, so much. Chris just illustrated what an amazing transformation changing your food intake can do for your body, and be able to. Your body does manufacture cholesterol, and your body needs cholesterol. Your brain needs cholesterol. If you didn't have it, you would probably develop dementia. So you do need cholesterol. Sometimes we keep the numbers artificially low. So but with medication. So it's important to explore other options before you start the pharmaceutical route. Some people do need to take the pharmaceuticals, but after exhausting all other options, like changing your diet. And you don't necessarily have to go vegan. That's and I applaud you, Chris. I happen to like to be vegan myself. I'm more vegetarian than I am vegan, but cutting out animal meat from your diet is a huge contributor to good health outcomes, but it doesn't have to be the only thing. And so it's important to exhaust other options before you go on pharmaceuticals, but also set yourself up with small, meaningful goals so that you don't feel like you have to eat the elephant. Make sure that you have attainable goals along the way to your bigger goal. You may have a goal of 100 pounds to lose, but you can lose it in 5-pound increments. And give yourself a non-food related reward, a healthy award. Get your reward. Get yourself a massage. Allow yourself to take a nice hot bath without people banging on the bathroom door. Just go out for a nice long walk by yourself. Take care of you. Sit and read a book without interruption. I mean, some of these things are really luxurious when you have small kids around or you have a lot of responsibility, but really try to do something to take care of you. And because acknowledging your accomplishments when you achieve these small goals is going to take you to the next goal, because it's going to give you, it's just going to fill your cup. So filling your own cup before you try to fill other people's is really important. You cannot pour from an empty cup. And I really, really can't push that enough, is that you have to take care of you before you can take care of anybody else.
Excellent. Great job and right on time. Next up, we have Chris.
So I really enjoyed listening to what everybody has to say. It's been a pleasure to be with other coaches. You know, normally it's just not a format that I get to be a part of. So Dennis, thank you. For me, it's about making a lifestyle change. You know, these aren't diets, these aren't fads, these aren't, it's a new beginning, you know, and New Year is a great time to start that, but it's a new life and it's a new way of living. And I think that's the difference. So whether it be in business, that we're going to be a better networker, network with a goal, set yourself up. And if you're not doing a good job, go get coaching, go get training, or go to different events. Maybe it's the event. Maybe you've been there for 6 years and it's the same, 20 people. Or go visit the 20 people with a different spin on it and get to know them instead of telling them about you, kind of thing. Tip, always go for the referral. Don't go for the sale. They will refer themselves. But I think making things a lifestyle change is much different than a diet or something else along those lines. So thank you.
Welcome. Great job. And then next up, we have Bertha.
Okay. Well, I echo everyone else. It's been a lot of fun. It's been confirmation and I've learned some new things. So I want to thank you all. I would say if there was one last takeaway, I would share that start with dreaming big, right? Dream big. What's going to fuel you? What is it that you want to do? You know, we tend to grow up, and I think someone said this earlier, you tend to grow up and forget about being the child inside. And what was it that you wanted to do when you wanted to grow up? And if there are certain things that you want to do and you feel that you have an obstacle and you can't achieve it or you can't get there, there is no such thing as can't. You can, we can. And back to Karen's point earlier about community and connection, we can do this collaboratively. So look for someone, back to Chris's point, who can help you, someone who's been there, who's done that, who can shape the path and can help you. Write down all your dreams. I call it a brain dump. Write it all down and then give those dreams some structure to them with that criterion, whether it's the why smart criterion or the smart criterion. Just make sure that it's specific, measurable, attainable, realistically high where it challenges you and it has some type of time bound. Because if it doesn't have a deadline, it's going to stay there and you're never going to get there. You want something that's going to pull you and push you to get there. And then once you have that goal, make it manageable. Take those small bites, like Karen said, make sure that when you do achieve those little ones that lead you to the longer term goals or the mid-size range goals, that you then have those wins and those celebrations. Take the time to celebrate that you've achieved that. And then the more you have those wins and celebrations, the more then you can convert this goal achievement process into a habit. And you'll be achieving more and more. And then it'll be a part of who you are and you'll be able to share it with others and bring others along the path to their success. So it's not about you just achieving in your business separately from achieving in your home and your personal life. It's holistic. What is it that you'd like to do? What is it how you'd like to serve? Who you'd like to give to and what it is that you'd like to do. Look at it in terms of your goals. Take the dreams, give them shape, and then make your goals a reality. You can achieve them. Absolutely. Others have, and you can too. And I look forward to, hearing from others' success. I love hearing that. Like Karen, you said, when I have a client that achieves a goal and has success, it's happiness for me. So I thank you for this opportunity and I look forward to connecting with all of you.
Thank you. And then finally, sealing it all off until Paul has his questions, will be Danelle.
This has really been amazing because, I definitely have learned from you guys. I've definitely learned even different ways to express or to just to explain different concepts that we all kind of are congregating towards the same thing, which I absolutely love. I would probably finish with progress, not perfection, because people tend to get frustrated and quit, right? I mean, this goes along with what everyone else has said, what Bertha has said most recently about, set that goal, strive for it, feel it. What's it going to be like when you reach it? Surround yourself with people who can help push you. I would say that the secret sauce to the programs that I'm working on right now are that we have this accountability on a day-to-day basis, because when you are trying to change your behavior, like sugar, oh my gosh, I agree with everything Karen said. It is so addictive, and people need support, not, they need constant support in the beginning to make such a big change, right? And then we can celebrate together when they do reach those goals. So progress, not perfection, is the big takeaway for me.
Excellent. Thanks so much. Paul, do we have any questions from Paul and the others? Paul, go ahead.
So yeah, I do have a question. And you've all, so thank you very much, everybody, for saying and sharing with all this information. What happens when somebody has a goal, they think, they want it, they know it's good for them, and they don't carry out with it for whatever reason? So for example, we're talking about food, or let's just drinking water, right? I know I should drink more water. I set that as a goal, but I don't do it. Or with marketing, as Chris said, I know I want to do more networking and marketing, and I'm not doing it, but I know it's good for me, and I know I should. I just, it doesn't fit me. Even with, say, an accountability partner, other than that, what are some ideas to, or what's going on with a problem like that typically, if there is a typical?
Is this free form to answer, or it looks
Yeah,
like Karen wants?
go ahead. You start, and then Karen can follow up.
So what I'll do is I always recap, and I'll say to the person, so I had one guy who came to me some years ago, and his business was in the crapper and things weren't going great, but his objective in life was he wanted to ski more on better snow. And that was his whole thing, right? That he was a big skier, and I guess surfers could say the same thing. And we helped him turn his business around, and he was out skiing. And, there was a situation where he had to work on, I think it was Labor Day weekend or whatever, and he was complaining about it. And it was about hitting his goals. And I said, oh, well, I guess you don't want to ski as much this year? Is that still not a priority for you? So, it can be a matter of just reminding them of the goal and the priority. So it's also, it's strange when it's 6 months away, but we need reminders sometimes, that it was important to them then. Is it still important to you? So we have a system called RCIP, where we recap, we confirm, we remind them of the importance, and find out what kind of priority this was for them then and is for them now. So hopefully that helps.
Okay, Karen, did you have something?
Yeah, so I would ask if that, let's just talk about your water goal, for instance. My question would be, why do you want to drink more water? Where are you now? What is your goal? And why do you want that goal that amount of water to increase? So then you'll tell me the answer to that. And I'll remind you of the health benefits in this particular case. If you're talking about a health related goal, I will remind you of the health benefits and what benefits you will not enjoy if you don't drink the water. For instance, when you drink enough water, you actually increase your energy level. You also increase your exercise because you have to go to the bathroom quite a bit more often. So you're getting up out of your chair and going to the bathroom more often, especially if you're sitting at a desk all day long. But also, it detoxifies your system. It keeps your thinking clearer. Like I said, it keeps you more awake. It gives you more energy, because I find myself that if I don't, I tend to be very tired. But you want to identify what the person's reasoning was for setting the goal in the first place, to bring them back to the why, because the why is the most powerful thing. If you know the why of why somebody wants to accomplish a particular goal, you can always bring them back to that. So my encouragement to you is, when you identify, or anybody, when you identify a goal that you want, and then as you go, as time goes on and that memory fades, bring yourself back to the why. And I like what Danelle was saying about just writing things down and having them posted visibly where you are in your space, whatever that is. If it's on your bathroom mirror, if it's on your desk, if it's in your kitchen, or all of those places. Just put your goal where it's prominent in your visual field, so that you see it all the time. And then you can put your why as to why that goal is important, because that way it is always front of mind, and you're always it becomes more of a priority, because it will fade. I mean, that's just human nature. So much other noise gets in the way, so it will fade. But if you have it there prominently visible, so that everywhere you go, you see it, and you know exactly why it is that you set that goal in the first place, I think that will help to keep you a little bit more motivated.
Excellent. And I know Bertha was nodding, and her why is right there in the beginning of her SMART goal. So we know that is her response as well. So with that, we did reach the hour. So I do want to wrap it up. But before I do, I know that there's some really good things that happen, besides the regular relaxed teams events that we have. Of course, you do this virtual trade show thing. Can you talk briefly about what that is and when that's coming up? I know it's coming up, but I don't remember when.
Thank you so much. Yeah. So pre-pandemic, we used to have live trade shows. We would teach people how to get more out of trade shows, and then we would have the show. And obviously with the pandemic, we couldn't do trade shows. So we shifted to virtual, and they're even better. They're really wonderful. And our next one coming up is on March 4th. And you're all welcome to come. I'll put a link in the chat. Please come. Danelle will be one of our exhibitors and presenters. We have exhibitors, presenters, attendees, and sponsors. Attendees come for free, so you're all more than welcome to. Our last show was a 3.5-hour show. People stayed for 2.5 hours, and in those 2.5 hours, they visited a combined 11,952 booths. So they were busy. So they're a lot of fun. They run great. Please come. I'll put the information in the chat. Thank you.
Excellent. All that will be in the blog post. We'll wrap all this up with the blog post. I thank everyone for attending. Let me end the live session here. So thank you for watching. If you did watch live, otherwise you'll be on our